Chess is a timeless game that requires skill, concentration, and a lot of passion. It's a complete workout for your brain. Today marked the last day of the 6th annual Broome County Chess Tournament in Binghamton. The best competitors of all ages came from around the country to show off their skills. Organizer John Cordisco said chess is the best equalizer.
It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how physically fit you are. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what language you speak. And none of those things matter. It's only your brain against someone else's, and that's the ultimate sport.
3 rounds were played last Sunday, and the final 3 were played this afternoon. Cordisco holds the tournament each year in memory of his brother Francis. $500 in prize money was given out today.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 5 of the 2nd annual Gashimov Memorial in honor of Vugar Gashimov, who passed away about a year and a half ago. It's played in Azerbaijan, where he's from. 2 great players. As white, someone that needs no introduction in the chess world, Magnus Carlsen, current world champion from Norway. And as black, Maxime LaGrave, MVL as they say, another top grandmaster. Let's get to it. It's going to be a ready. Go through the first few moves here. It's an interesting opening. I'm not familiar with the A and B pawns being moved for black in here, but knight goes to A3, pawn pushes, knight comes back. That's very unusual for me. That's interesting. E6, D4. According to the computer, that's the last book move. It doesn't look so bad for black. I mean, he's got, his pawns out. This is going to come up here. This bishop's got free reign. This bishop has fairly free reign. That's not bad. A5 to reinforce the pawn. Magnus castles and MVL, bishop to E7. Off screen I got my Fritz 13 computer running, and it's about 3/4 of a pawn advantage for white, no big deal. D5, trying to open things up. Interesting though, I like, well, this is why these guys are world-class players and I'm not. I'd probably play D takes E5 in a second. But the computer says knight A6, and that's what MVL does. Knight comes up. And of course, Magnus does the computer move, or excuse me, MVL does a computer move, knight to C5. That's a really good square for that knight. This pawn's not going to be able to harass him. It's just a really good spot. Holds a lot of key squares. Here, here, here. That's a lot of key squares. Rook E1. Castles. E4. Now it's an even game. After E5. Interesting. That's a hell of a command of a center for white, I'll tell you that. Those 3 center pawns, that knight there. This knight can come over here eventually, covering all these squares. I don't know. It shows just about even on the computer though, but I like white. Knight F5, another good spot. Bishop's got nowhere to go. D6, might as well just hem him in if he's going to take him. Bishop G5. Now, this is where NVL miscues. Computer likes rook E8, bishop C8, bishop A6, pretty close in score, but he goes knight takes D5. Not very good. After bishop to H6. Who could have saw that coming? He basically has to take queen checks, bishop G5, C takes the knight. Now black's a pawn up, but his king side is a shambles. Absolute shambles. Not as good as E takes. After bishop C8, H4, bishop takes, queen F6. And black survives. So C takes was the correct move. King's got to get the hell out of Dodge. Just can't stand it with this queen pinning this bishop here. H4. Now the bishop can move. He can try to survive this. Here comes the other knight. How's he going to get in, though? The queen's going to have to move here, then here, or here. Bishop c8. He's bringing in all his pieces to try to help. Unfortunately, that knight on c5 isn't much help for him, but queen to f3. Bishop comes back, allowing the queen to get in. Now, black's up a pawn, but he's down about a half a point in score. I think it looks like LaGrave is surviving this. It's tough. Bishop h3. Rook g8, just to get more protection in the king area. Bishop, queen f6. He's doing everything he can to try to survive it. He's certainly not going to take the knight, even though eventually he's going to have to. Bishop h5. Now he takes the knight, and knight takes. Okay, here we are. Tough, tough, tough. I don't care who you are, even though Maxime is a world-class player. That's a lot of pressure, especially if you're playing Carlsen. So let's see how he does. So far, I think he's bowled up pretty well. Give you an idea, instead of knight takes, if he had taken with a pawn, after e4, queen e2, knight d3, and black is up by almost 2 points. He's almost winning. So knight takes, of course, was the correct move. c6. D takes. Now I like that move. Let's go back here. Computer likes a4, but I like that c6 move. I think it gives him a chance. Because after pawn takes, rook a to c8, queen to d1. And I think he's okay. He gave the pawn back to get a tempo. If knight had taken instead, queen takes, bishop takes, king takes, and the worst is over for black there. So after queen to d1, rook takes, gets his pawn back. Those of you that were wondering if knight had taken e4, bishop g4 solves that problem. Now you've got a bigger problem on this bishop. After rook takes, queen to d5, almost a 2-point advantage for white, but I'll tell you the truth, I think LaGrave is holding his own. That's a tough position. Rook comes over, rook a to d1, bishop f8 to guard the pawn again. I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3 pieces hitting it. Queen takes f7, queen takes, bishop takes. Clears the queens off the board, but still tough. Knight to a4, hitting the pawn. Decides to go rook e2, Magnus to defend. Rook c1 for Maxime. Rook takes, king g2. It doesn't look so bad. Computer's got about a 1.5 advantage for white, but I think he might be able to hold this. Of course, that dark squared bishop for black's not doing much. He's holding his position together, but other than that, knight c5, bishop d5, the computer likes a lot. King f3, king h3. For some reason he wants to move the king. Magnus goes b3. I think it does a lot of things. One, it stops this pawn from coming up. Rook c3, king h3, knight to d7. He's trying to get the knight back in the game. Bishop e6, knight c5. He goes back again. Bishop, knight d7, knight e3. Didn't want to repeat. Man, this is tough. I would like to play this game as black. And Christ, you got to play Carlsen. Jesus. Knight f3, Bishop e6 again. Rook c5. Give you an idea, knight takes doesn't work. Because after knight to d5, knight c5, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop d5. And white is clearly winning. After rook c5, knight c4, king g7. This is where Carlsen's at his best. When he has the positional advantage and he just grinds you down. f3, knight e8, rook d2. He's just slowly turning the screws. I mean, what the hell do you do here? Knight c7, forcing the bishop to move. a4, trying to open up the queen side. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Rook takes. a3. Man, oh man, oh man. I'll tell you, that's one of the worst feelings in chess. The feeling that you have to play your best and be 110% accurate just to draw. It's a horrible feeling. Horrible while you're playing. Bishop d7. Rook c2. Go after the a-pawn. Bishop c6. Rook takes. Looks like black's got a reprieve here, but rook d7 check. He's going to have to give up the knight. King f6. Computer didn't like that at all. I like that fate better. And after rook takes, rook c2. It's about a pawn and 3/4 advantage for white. After king f6, rook takes, rook c2. h5 is a choice of the computer, but I like Magnus's move. Rook takes, king g6, rook c7. Of course, we all see. Nice check here. Picking up the rook. King f6, he moves. h5. Not really concerned about that pawn. Rook c1. Now the rook comes to h7. a2. Computer thought that rook to h1 was a small chance, and after king, king, bishop, king, rook checks, king c5, it's still overwhelming for white. But after a2, bishop d5, here it comes. You can't do anything about it. It's mate no matter what he does. So that's for MVL. So that's enough. No mas. Give you an idea. After rook, you have to do it. Black the rook. Rook takes. Admitting that's coming. King has to go to g5. If he queens, it's check. King has to go here. And then mate. So he's got to move the king. Rook checks. King f6. Rook checks. King g5. It comes out the same. And then mate. It's a mating net and he can't get out of it if he queens or not. Anyway, folks, that was a hell of a game. Tough grind for poor Maxime, but that's typical Carlsen. Get a small advantage and turn into a huge one. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed the game. I want to thank all my new subscribers that I've gotten recently. Thank you very, very much. I'm just a guy that loves chess and does videos from upstate New York, and I appreciate all the views and all the new subscribers that I've gotten from all over the world. Thank you very much. And I want you to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.